Today we are moving into an activity on fake news. We have a bunch of stations around the room that we're going to look at today. So you saw them when you were coming in. They're fanned around the room, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to talk about how to get the most out of those and follow along with that. But first I want to spend a little bit of time reviewing with you. This whole unit we've been looking at has been about fake news and misinformation. So when you hear this term, fake news, what comes to mind? What does that signify for you? This lesson today is part of a unit that we've been working on for several weeks now on misinformation. So within the context of this unit, we've done a lot of work trying to build in students' background around election 2020, giving them a lot of opportunities to practice skills related to fake news, trying to create a context with the history of fake news in this country and globally, the psychology behind fake news, the economics that drives it, and then giving them an opportunity to build some skills around those things. We talked a little bit about clickbait, right? Mamo already mentioned that one, the idea of trying to make profit for it. David, the example of political fake news, which one of those would fit into that category?
Propaganda.
Extreme bias, propaganda. And what about the last one that we discussed yesterday? Or second to last one, I should say.
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
One trait someone has is to never believe something right off the bat. And then it's also our job to, like, if we see something that we want to, like, dig more into, take the time, do the research on the author, and then to see what other websites have to say about them also, and just try to connect the dots however we can.
Students looked at a variety of different fake news sources. So they took a look at satire, they took a look at some clickbait and the example of a deep fake. And there was a conspiracy video that they looked at. And as educators, I think we have an ethical responsibility to give students an opportunity to engage with this media, to think critically about it, and empower them to confront it on a daily basis. Because so many of them get their news through social media. If they can take those steps to ask themselves, is this a credible source? Is this something that I need to dig a little bit deeper with before I can share it? Then they're more likely to effectively share something instead of being part of the problem in some ways, as so many of us are, because we're strapped for time, or we confirm our own biases by the first thing that we look at. In particular, students were working in partnerships today. That was done deliberately to ensure that students were able to have those conversations together and think critically. As contrast, I should say, to what they do perhaps alone when they're on their phone.
One thing that surprised me was the amount of fake news that people share on a daily day. I never actually realized how much fake news there was around in social media.
One of the things that interests me or surprised me is that the people that make fake news, they actually enjoy doing this because they're trying to mix up people's brains, how they think about everything. Let's just, an example, this guy, he did a Hillary scandal thing about how bad is she, and it really affected the supporters of Hillary, and the people wanted to vote for her, so it was just really confusing.
So I was happy to see that so many students were able to approach these documents, these sources that are completely foreign to them with an interest and a curiosity that I think they've gotten into the habit, based on the work that we've done, of being fact checkers themselves.
One piece of advice I can give is, like, this isn't an easy thing to teach, and then a lot of kids off the bat won't find this interesting at all. Once you do teach them, try to, like, give them sources of, like, more recent topics or things that the kids are more into, if they have the chance to do that, so kids will be like, okay, this is something I like, I want to know more about it.
As teachers, we have a responsibility to empower students to confront the problems of the day to a large extent, and giving them sufficient opportunities to practice that in a space such that when they're sharing media with one another, creating media with friends and family down the road, they have the skills necessary to succeed. We have a responsibility in a democracy to utilize this media more responsibly, to engage with it. Or is everybody up for sorting it out themselves? Yeah.
Just kind of like learn how to like not get tricked by it, and like that's how we like know what's reliable and what's not.
We're building towards a final assessment where students are going to be working to systematically deconstruct a fake news article, a fake news source. But then they're also going to be presenting that information as this class is populated by upperclassmen or freshmen, with the notion that they're going to be able to pay forward their learning in a way. I think important next steps from there include students being able to create and share media, not just on their own as they're so often doing, but also doing in a classroom setting so that they can get that feedback from one another, their peers, or just people in general online. Really empowering them to understand the complexities of the political media landscape that we're in, such that they feel strengthened and emboldened to then participate in that moving forward.
This unit has changed the way I see media and how I spread it, because I am like more cautious now of what I think, what I believe to be true or not.